All right, well, here's part 2 of section 1 of unit 3 of unit 2014 of, just kidding. No, really, we're in unit 3. This is still section 1, okay? Section 1 does go over microscopes and the cell structure. Unit 2 goes over the cell membrane. So we're in part 2 of section 1. We're going to talk about the cell now. There's a lot of stuff when we go into that. So be prepared to really learn a lot about the cell. So let's kind of go dig deeper. We already went over microscopes. The next section will be the barrier. So let's talk about the cell. All right, the cell, there's a lot of components, and as I make this a little bit smaller, you notice that there's many circles. Those we'll talk about in just a moment. But let's get a little bit more general when we talk about the cells. So first of all, how about some visuals?
Everything that lives is made of cells, even us. Although we can't see them, trillions of cells within our body work together to give us the gift of life. These tiny units of life fascinate biologists like Boyce Rensberger.
The entire human body is made out of cells, or the things that cells have made, such as bone. Skin is made of cells, your heart is made of cells, the muscles that operate the body so that you can move, these things are all made of cells, including the brain itself, which sends electrical signals around from one cell to the other so that we can think. All these different kinds of cells work fundamentally the same way. When you look inside the cell, you see the same kinds of structures.
Cells come in all sorts of sizes and shapes. They're so small that we need a microscope to see them. Inside of every eukaryotic cell is a microscopic factory that runs off chemical reactions. At the center, the nucleus acts as the cell's brain and controls its activities. It also holds the DNA, the instructions for life. The cell's membrane protects each cell and takes in the raw materials it needs to stay alive. Water, nutrients, and waste move into and out of the cell all the time. These materials may hitch a ride along the cell's transport network, a network made up of microtubules and intracellular membranes. The cell's transport network picks up, transports, and delivers material throughout the cell. The cell breaks down raw materials into the building blocks it needs to grow. This ability to take in vital materials allows the cell to function and perform specific tasks.
The instructions that are in the cells, starting in embryonic development, tell each cell how to change to take on a new function. Also, the cells monitor the activities going on. If there's a wound, the cells can sense that, and they will send out the message to other cells to come and repair the damage. So all of this keeps the whole body on a kind of an even keel.
Our cells work together in extraordinary ways. The heart, for example, is made up of muscle cells with a tendency to twitch. Separately, they twitch to their own rhythm, but together they beat as one. Millions of them work together to give us a heartbeat. These muscle cells survive as long as we do, but throughout the body, cells die and get replaced all the time. Our body produces new cells through mitosis, the process where one cell divides into two. Since we're constantly losing and replacing cells, most cells in our body are actually younger than we are.
So that gives you a good kind of an overview for what we're going to talk about. But I like that because it shows you, first of all, electron microscope and how it views some of those cells. So kind of cool. All right, let's move on though. I want to talk to you guys about prokaryotes versus eukaryotes. Please know the difference between these two. Okay, let's look at this picture to kind of explain a little bit further. So a eukaryotic cell are pretty much all the cells in our bodies. We kind of call these like the newer cells. Not really. But the prokaryotic cells are more of like the archaic. But bacteria, they still exist. Bacteria is an example of a prokaryotic cell. Notice the difference here. There's a lot of organelles here in this eukaryotic cell that are not found in the prokaryotic cells. Okay, but you still have a plasma membrane. You still have cytoplasm, which we'll talk about. Cytoplasm is kind of that jelly-like fluid in which all of the organelles float in. But the DNA is a lot different here. Okay, the DNA is very organized within the eukaryotic cell, where you have not so organized DNA in the prokaryotic cell. You more have like a nucleoid region as opposed to a nucleus in the eukaryotic cell. That's a big difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. And you still have ribosomes. But again, know the difference. This talks, your lesson talks about it pretty extensively, but just know the basic differences between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Okay, and we'll be touching on those more in the next units as well as next semester. Okay, but the cell, very important, the basic unit of structure and function. And here's a great picture of the cell. We're going to go over each of these organelles briefly, but enough to give you a good background. But that's something that you guys heard in part 1. There was a quick video that I showed you. It was a song, and it kept talking about the basic unit of structure and function. Okay, cells are that. They're very important. They do everything in our bodies as well as all other organisms. But they are really cool. They work together to perform functions. They work together to make structures. So they are the basic unit. Okay, very cool. All right, now let's talk about the structures. So the nucleus. If you guys notice, as I keep going on, I'm going to flash back to a big picture of the cell. And again, I wish that I was more, I will get this, but maybe not when you guys get to see it. But I wish I could write on my screen. I haven't figured that out. But I am going to point out the structure after I explain it. So notice that I will go back to a picture of an animal cell or a eukaryotic cell and show you where each of these are located and what they look like. So first of all, the nucleus. Okay, the nucleus, we nickname it the control center. So of course I've got this cool control center. I don't know what it's for, but it looks really cool, right? Can you imagine sitting in front of there and you're like, hey, I'm in control. Okay, that's the nucleus. The function is it holds the DNA, which next unit we're going to talk a little bit about DNA in this unit, but genetics, oh yeah. So holds all of our DNA, which holds all of our genes. The parts of it, though, within the nucleus, you actually have a nucleolus, dark spot in the middle of the nucleus that helps make ribosomes. So you'll see that even when you're looking in a light microscope, you can actually see the nucleolus. Okay, so let's look at that in the cell. Not the greatest picture, forgive me, but here's the nucleus here, and you can actually see the nucleolus here. I don't know why. It would be a nice light, dark spot here, but it's in the center of the cell. Okay, the nucleus. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm back up. Ah! Hello, entire thing, nucleus. This is the nucleolus. It's late. I record these way too late. Okay, nucleus right here, nuclear membrane, and then the nucleolus is this lovely spot right here. I don't know what I was thinking, but nonetheless, now I know. So back up, here's the nucleus, this is the nucleolus, control center of the brain, controls everything. It has the DNA in it. Moving on, ribosomes. Remember, the nucleolus is the site where ribosomes are made. It's not where they're necessarily found though, but the big thing about ribosomes, they make proteins. That's why I have a big old slab of steak pictured there. Sorry for any of you vegetarians. But proteins, not that they just come from meat, but proteins ultimately make up enzymes, they make up amino acids, they make up muscles, they make up lots of different things in our body. So proteins are very important. They're found in all cells, meaning ribosomes, okay? Found in all cells, prokaryotic and eukaryotic, okay? So ribosomes, again, you saw that picture a long time ago where you have the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic, and ribosomes are found in both because proteins are necessary for both types of cells, okay? So you'll notice that actually you have free-floating ribosomes. You also have ribosomes that are located on this endoplasmic reticulum. We'll talk about that. So there are different ribosomes free-floating and ones that are studying the endoplasmic reticulum, or the ER, which we'll get into in just a moment. Right now! Endoplasmic reticulum! I call this the roads. That's the nickname. I love this picture. It's crazy. The roads are basically, you know, these navigating paths throughout the cell. That's what I think about the endoplasmic reticulum. So the function is the internal delivery system of the cell. Lots of things are being produced in the cell. They need to be delivered to different parts of the cell, so that's why those endoplasmic reticulums are like the roads. You have to stay on the roads, but you have to be on the roads to get someplace. So that's the delivery system, okay? Again, I think I pointed these out earlier, but these lovely kind of reddish things right here, they are the endoplasmic reticulum, that road system, okay? And they will deliver things and basically deliver proteins, deliver different nutrients, different things that need to be transported throughout within the cell, okay? All right, the rough versus the smooth. So we have two types of endoplasmic reticulum. We have rough, okay, rough appearance because it has ribosomes kind of studded on it, like the bedazzler. No, just kidding, if you guys even know what the bedazzler is. But the rough ER, basically, function helps make proteins because ribosomes are where proteins are made, okay? That's why it has ribosomes. Ah! So there's the rough, nice and bumpy, right? The smooth ER, no ribosomes, okay? The function makes fats or lipids. So you have both of those types of ER, endoplasmic reticulum, rough versus smooth. One makes proteins, one makes fats and lipids, okay? Let's look at, well, sorry, I forgot to zoom in on those. So there's the rough ER. My function helps make proteins, okay? And then the smooth helps make fats, okay? No ribosomes. All right, now back to the picture. Here's our smooth ER, and this is our rough ER, okay? All right, Golgi Complex. So Golgi Apparatus or Golgi Complex, you'll hear both of those terms. I nickname it the shippers because they are packaging, modifying, transporting, and they're transporting materials to different locations inside and outside of the cell, okay? So I always think they look like pancakes. I'm going to show you that. But here's a song first. It's kind of catchy.
Hey there, little lady, how you feeling tonight? I don't know you so well, but you're looking alright. I think we got some chemistry, but maybe not. Though if you're interested, I know a nice little spot where I like to go when things get awfully chaotic, and I want to feel a little more eukaryotic. On the endomembrane system inside of the cell, there's a groovy little organelle. It isn't a place you can find in an atlas. That's right, you guessed it, the Golgi Apparatus. It's the Golgi Apparatus. Yes, the Golgi Apparatus. Don't care who's staring at us in the Golgi Apparatus. It modifies proteins and moves lipids around and packages things to keep them safe and sound. If you're looking for lysosomes, then search no more, cause cranking them out's what this organelle's for. If there's vesicles on your endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi Apparatus will take some of them, package them nicely and send them away to their required destination. And I must say, I love the Golgi Apparatus. Yes, the Golgi Apparatus. Don't care who's staring at us in the Golgi Apparatus. Baby, don't leave me, we've got so much love to give. I can't believe time went by quickly as it did. Promise you won't forget my face or all our love, and all those times we came so close to heaven above. It's the Golgi Apparatus. Yes, the Golgi Apparatus. Don't care who's laughing at us in the Golgi Apparatus. Golgi Apparatus. Yes, the Golgi Apparatus. La 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 la. It's the Golgi Apparatus.
Okay, bet you're never going to forget that. Golgi Apparatus. He really had a fond love for the Golgi Apparatus. So remember I said it looked like pancakes? So here's the Golgi apparatus. And as you notice, it's actually very near the cell membrane. And the cell membrane is what controls what goes in and out. So it basically can package things that can either go within the cell or go out of the cell. So very important, packages things for exporting and moving around the cell. Okay, Golgi apparatus, Golgi complex. Lysosomes, nicknamed cleanup crews. Not a fun job, but nonetheless very necessary in the cell. Break down food into particles the rest of the cell can use or destroys all cells. And what it does is they're really cool. They're like, I kind of think of them as like amoebas, but they're not. But lysosomes kind of engulf things like Pac-Man, okay? So it's like Pac-Man's eating all those little dots. Well, if there's anything new, if there's anything old and worn out or things that don't need to be used, that lysosome will kind of grab it. We call that phagocytosis. Or also it can break it down within it. So there's some really cool things about lysosomes, and they're very necessary. Let's see, where are lysosomes? I don't see a lysosome in here. No lysosome. What the heck? I could draw one. So they're kind of circular in shape. These are not right here, but we could pretend those are. But no, they're not pictured right here for some odd reason. But lysosomes are always found in cells. I don't know if this was just a basic cell for getting some of the main organelles, because not everything is pictured here, but lysosomes are pretty stinking important. So, mitochondria, nicknamed the powerhouse. So look at these nuclear power plants. The function, energy formation, breaks down food to make ATP. So last section in photosynthesis, we talked a lot about ATP. And remember we talked about how we produce ATP, found in the mitochondria. Okay, so that's the powerhouse. The mitochondria are very easy to spot, these lovely yellow things. They look kind of cool. They're my favorite organelle because they look cool and they do cool things. But there are your mitochondria. There are many, many, many found in the cell. Not just 3, but that's what this cell's showing. Okay, now let's talk about some differences in the plant cells, because there are some differences, okay? First, plants. No, I love plants. If you don't like your veggies, you're missing out. But I don't know about Brussels sprouts. And anyways, vacuoles are one of the big differences in plants. Plant cells have vacuoles, animal cells do not, okay? Vacuoles, the function would be to store water. Oops, let's move that over a little bit. Store water, okay? This is what makes lettuce crisp. When there's no water, the plant wilts, okay? So basically, plants need to store water, first of all, because it's required for ATP, or for photosynthesis. Sorry, not ATP. It's required for photosynthesis, but ultimately, it holds that plant up. Some plants grow super tall. If anyone's ever been to the Sequoia National Forest or the redwoods, obviously those grow super tall, okay? But you need a lot of water in order to keep that rigidity, okay? So, kind of like a water tower, a vacuole stores water. Brilliant. Okay, chloroplasts. We know a lot about chloroplasts. Only plant cells have chloroplasts, not animal cells. Function, traps energy from the sun to produce for the plant cell, okay, or produce food. So we know that in these chloroplasts we have chlorophyll, which is that pigment. And within the chloroplasts you have these lovely little things called the thylakoids. They also look like kind of pancakes stacked on top. But ultimately that is where photosynthesis takes place. Within the chloroplast you have those thylakoids, okay? Again, only in plants. And the last thing is a cell wall. Now remember, plants and animal cells have cell membranes, but only plants have a cell wall. Function provides support and protection to the cell membrane. So you need, again, that rigidity. So look at this crazy cell wall. Not cell wall, sorry, a wall. But obviously for protection. Now our cell membrane is for protection as well, but ultimately a plant, those cells really need that protection from, you know, the outside environment. A lot of our cells, except for our skin, they're internal, and so we don't have to have those cell walls. We don't need that. Again, it also has rigidity to it. We don't necessarily need that. Otherwise, we would be really stiff, and I don't know if we could talk very well. No, just kidding. I don't know what it would be like if we had cell walls, but I don't want to know because I kind of like the way I am. All right, so here is a picture of the plant cell. Not a lot of differences, but the main ones are The outside here is the cell wall. Okay, there's also little pores in here in the cell wall because, again, different things like carbon dioxide need to get into the cell. But here are your chloroplasts, and this is a vacuole storing water. Okay, so those are the main differences. Cell wall, vacuole, chloroplasts. Got it? Good. All right. How do you like that? We are done with the cell. So we are done with part 2 of section 1. We will move on to section 2 next time. Okay, bye-bye.